Hi everyone, my name is Monique.
And I'm Naveen from Before You Play.
And today we're going to be showing you how to play Smash Up Disney Edition.
Yeah, this is a 2 to 4 player game designed by Paul Peterson. It's published by AEG as well as the Op, who are helping sponsor this video. Smash Up is a game that Monique and I used to play a ton when we first got into the hobby, and now there's this new Disney edition.
Yeah, I believe the first one came out like about 10 years ago or so.
2012, yes.
Yeah, and since then there have been a lot of different expansions that are mainly standalone, and now we have a Disney edition. And so if you've never played Smash Up before, it's basically a game that has several characters with asymmetric character decks. You combine two of them together, and then you play them to different bases in the attempt to break the bases and score points. And so today we're going to be showing you how to play it.
But first, if you do like these kind of videos and you want to see more in the future, please consider subscribing.
And with that, we're ready to begin. So if you'd please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for our two-player game of Smash Up Disney Edition. And as you can see, we already have our starting bases here.
Yes.
And they come from various Disney movies. Like we have the Ice Palace from Frozen, Pride Rock from The Lion King, as well as Agrabah Bazaar from, of course, Aladdin. And if you've never played Smash Up before, the number of bases that we have at all times is dependent on player count. So there are always going to be 3 in a 2-player game. And so Smash Up is basically a race to 15 victory points. As you can see here, each base has a certain breaking point that's shown at the top left-hand corner. And so in this example, Pride Rock has a breaking point of 19. Now, over the course of the game, we're going to be playing character cards to the different bases, adding their power levels to the base in an effort to try to meet or exceed that break point. As soon as that happens, we score the base, and whoever contributed the most amount of power gets the largest number of points. Second most gets the second most, and then the third most gets the third. Various character cards, as well as the different bases, also have certain abilities and powers that might come into play during the game. But once a base scores, it gets discarded, and we have a new one. And so the first player to reach 15 victory points at the end of a turn is going to be the winner.
The other thing about Smash Up is each game comes with a varying number of characters. In this particular one, there's 8 of them. And so what you're basically going to do is choose 2 of those characters, take their own unique decks, and smash them together, creating your own asymmetric deck relative to all the other players. In this particular game, I am going to be both the Lion King as well as Frozen.
And I'm going to be Aladdin and Mulan. So we've shuffled our decks, and we have our starting hand of 5, and now we're technically ready to begin. And so each player's deck consists of 2 different types of cards. We have character cards, like Aladdin over here, and you'll probably recognize a lot of these characters, as well as action cards. And so on your turn, you're allowed to play one of each, but both are optional. So if you want to, you could just play one. And so let's say it's my turn. I'm going to go ahead and play this character, the Palace Guard, to the Agrabah Bazaar. And so this character is contributing 2 power to this base. I'm going to go ahead and increase it right there. And then characters typically have an ability that comes into play depending on what it says. This Palace Guard specifically has a talent, and talents can be utilized once per turn. So this one specifically says discard an action to place +1 power counter on each of my Palace Guards here. So this would be a lot more useful if there were several Palace Guards, but it's still not bad. So I'm going to go ahead and discard this action card from my hand in order to do that. So now I get to place a +1 power counter on this character, which will increase the amount of power at this base to 3. So again, we're looking to either meet or exceed the breaking point, which is 22, so we have a long way to go. So now that I've played a character card, I'm going to go ahead and play an action card from my hand, and I'm going to play Call Up New Recruits. So unlike character cards, these don't get played to the bases. When you play them, you resolve their ability, and then they get discarded. So in this case, this says play an extra character of power 4 or less, or draw 2 cards. I'm going to play an extra character of 4 or less, because that's pretty nice. And that character is Mushu. So I'm going to go ahead and play Mushu to Agrabah Bazaar as well. And Mushu has a power of 2, so this is going to increase to 5. And then Mushu's ability is a one-time ability, essentially. And this says I can place a +1 power counter on another character here. I'm going to place this +1 power counter on the Palace Guard.
Strong.
Increasing this to 6. So now I've contributed a total of 6 power to this base.
Right.
Once you're done playing cards, then you technically check each base to see if any of them reach their breaking point. And then you end your turn by drawing 2 cards. And now it is to you.
My turn. Okay, so I think I want to compete a little bit for Agrabah Bazaar. I'm going to play a character. I'm going to play Simba.
Oh,
we all know Simba. Yes, it's a character card, and I'm going to play it to the bazaar over there. But the ongoing effect is if Mufasa is in my discard pile, this card then gains +2. So I need to find a way to put him into my discard pile.
Oh, interesting.
Special, after this character does go to the discard pile from play, I'm going to be able to shuffle it straight into my deck. So I can always see Simba kind of coming back.
Nice.
So I'm going to play Simba here, and its power is now additive. So this 6 is now going to go to a 10 total.
That's right.
So now we're kind of competing to have the most power here when this breaks. Now I'm going to play an action card, and not all action cards get discarded. There are two different types. There are base modifiers as well as character modifiers. The base modifier is going to get attached to a base, and the one I'm going to be playing is called Lock the Gates. The action says, ongoing, my characters here cannot be destroyed by other players' cards.
Nice.
So I'm going to attach it to this base over here. There's also a talent, and it says I get to look at the top card of my deck. I can either return it to the top or discard it. So I'm going to keep this here because I want Simba to be nice and strong.
Smart.
I'm going to keep that talent exposed.
Very
so
good.
I'm going to utilize that talent on this turn. I'm going to draw a card, see if I like it. I'm going to keep it on top knowing that I'm going to draw it. And that's going to end my turn. I draw 2 cards.
And you can do that once per turn.
Once per turn,
It's
yeah.
really nice.
Nice.
And that's essentially how a round works. Now let's fast forward a few rounds and the table might look a little something like this. Now it's my turn again, and I know that I've contributed the majority of the power in this base, and the base is pretty close to breaking. It's at 20 power and the breaking point is 22. The Ice Palace is also pretty close to breaking, but I think Naveen has me on power here, so I'm not going to try to break this base because I know it's just going to score him the points. And seeing as I think I can break this base without having to play cards from my hand, I'm going to focus on Pride Rock. So I'm going to play a character card, and I'm going to play Mushu to Pride Rock. And Mushu, like we saw earlier, has 2 power. So this is going to go up to 5. And the ability says I can place a +1 power counter on another character here. So I'm going to go ahead and place a +1 counter on Chen Po.
Okay, so that goes 1 more up.
Yes.
6.
Now Chen Po has an ongoing ability that says once per turn, after you place a +1 power counter on this card, I get to draw a card, which is great because I was kind of running out of cards anyway. And so now we get to play an action card. And so if you play with Aladdin specifically, one of the characteristic parts of Aladdin's deck is this genie. And so the action card to go along with Genie is Wish. Wish says if you have Genie in play, I get to choose one effect, and then I place this card into the box, which means it's out of the game for the rest of the game.
Okay, 1 time.
The 4 options are play 2 extra non-Wish cards, give a character +5 power until the end of the turn, or draw 4 cards.
Interesting.
So I'm just going to draw 4 cards. So now I'm going to activate some of these abilities. I have a lot of talents on cards here, including my base modifier over here. This action card has a talent that lets me place a +1 power counter on up to 2 characters here. So I'm going to go ahead and use that ability to break the base. So I'm adding these 2 power. So this is going to go up to 22.
There you go.
And so the base has been broken, but we don't resolve it yet because I'm not done activating my abilities. Since this base is going to break, I'm going to ignore the talent on these 2 cards, but I will take the effect of the Genie. So the Genie has a talent that says search your deck and or discard pile for a copy of Wish, reveal it, and place it into my hand. Since I played Wish, I might as well do this. So here's the card, and it's going to go into my hand, and now I must shuffle my deck. Now that I'm done playing cards, we can go ahead and score this base. But before we do, I just want to point out that instead of using this card to add additional power to break the base, I could have alternatively used the ability on the base itself that says on your turn, you may discard an action card to place up to 2 +1 power counters total on your characters here.
Yeah, so that would have been the 2 that you needed to go from 20 to 22.
Exactly, but I figured why waste an action card when I can do it for free?
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, so let's go ahead and score this base. Looks like Naveen has contributed a total of 7 power to my 15, which means I've contributed the most. I get 4 points, and you take these point counters from the supply, and Naveen gets 2 points.
I get 2,
So
yes.
there you go.
I'll take it.
You're on your way to 15.
You're closer.
I also want to note that there are several different abilities that may come into effect before, during, or after the base's score. None of that is true for the cards that we have out right now. So then we are now done scoring this base. This gets discarded, as well as all the cards that were used in association with that base.
Get them out. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to lose these 2. But if we remember Simba, his benefit is I get to shuffle it back into my draw deck. So I will go and do that.
And now we add a new base. So we have
look
the
at that
Forbidden City that has a break point of 19.
19. First and second place are 3 each.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that's like the finisher one.
And the ability here says after the first time you play a character card here, each turn, you may play an extra action. Wow. That's nice.
Okay.
And I end my turn, of course, by drawing 2 cards. So now it's back to you.
Back to me. Okay, so Monique was able to take down some extra points. I think there's a way for me to gain ground at Pride Rock as well as take down points at the Ice Palace.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm going to play my character card. I'm going to play Elsa, not to the Ice Palace, surprisingly.
Okay.
Thematically. We're going to go to Pride Rock. And it's worth 5 power, which is great. And this one is a talent card. So
She'd be so confused.
yes.
At Pride Rock.
So it says, play Olaf or a Snowgie from your hand or discard pile as an extra character. Or I can play Marshmallow, which is another type of card, into my hand from my discard pile. So I'm going to play Elsa there.
Okay.
Gaining the 5 power to this location. And I do happen to have a Snowgie.
Nice.
So a Snowgie is going to come into play. That's going to gain an extra 2. And it's the Snowgie itself has some text. It says, if one of your characters here has 5 or more power, place +1 power counter on this character.
Wow.
So there you go. So now we've got some ground here.
Wow.
That's good.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So now I'm going to play my action card, and I'm going to play He Lives in You. So this is kind of silly because I'm playing this one to manage the Ice Palace while Elsa is over at Pride Rock. And this is a base modifier. It's an ongoing one. It says your characters here, so I'm going to play it at the Ice Palace, each have +1 power. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4 characters there. Also, it says if Mufasa is in my discard pile, they would gain 2 each. Mufasa is not in my discard pile. So I'm going to attach it to this. Well, it's fine because I get 1, 2, 3, 4, which is exactly the amount of power needed to break this location, which was at 22. So we will be scoring this at the end of my turn.
And on my turn, by the way, it was very tempting to try to destroy some of Naveen's characters, but the Ice Palace's ability says characters here cannot be destroyed or moved by other players' cards. So this was a very safe haven for Naveen.
It was, yes. So now I'm done with my turn. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing scored. So I'm going to get 4, and you are going to get 2 because I've contributed the most power. You've contributed second most.
Right. All right, so 2 points for me, and then I'm going to give you a 5.
Sure, you can have
give
a
me
1
back 1. Thank you.
Perfect. Now that this is done, we're going to go ahead and clean up the cards and take out all these extra tokens off of these.
All right, so I can take my cards back as well.
These all go to my discard pile. And we replace this base with a new one. What do we got?
And just so you know, all these bases are also specific to the characters that we have in play in this specific game.
Right, so now we have Arendelle.
Oh, so you placed one frozen base for the other.
For another, yes. And I've ended my turn by drawing 2 cards.
And that's essentially it. You continue playing like this until the first person scores 15 victory points at the end of a turn. And at that point, that player is the winner. So as you saw, we were able to showcase a few of the characters, namely Aladdin with the genie and the lamp looking for wishes, Mulan, who was able to add a lot of power counters whenever we play character cards.
And then, of course, we had people from Frozen, as well as my favorite Disney movie, The Lion King.
And with the Frozen deck, you saw some characters that were looking for each other, right? Like with the Elsa and the Snowgies.
Right.
In addition to those characters, we also have The Nightmare Before Christmas. And this deck has a lot of character modifiers that allow you to kind of keep characters back and bring them back once they've been discarded.
Right.
We also have Beauty and the Beast, which of course includes Belle and the Beast that both kind of combo with each other, as well as some enchanted objects that help you when you discard the cards.
Right.
We also have Wreck-It Ralph that has a lot of base modifiers this time, as well as cards that kind of hop back and forth from the different bases. And finally, we have Big Hero 6. And this deck uses power counters as swarms of microbots. And there are also some gear upgrades and some other fun stuff you can play around with. Well, there you have it. That is how you play Smash Up Disney Edition. Now, even though this is a standalone version of the game, you can technically mix these character decks with other versions of Smash Up.
Now, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below, and we'll try to get back to you as soon as we can. And thank you all so much for watching the video. We really hope you enjoyed it. If you do like to see these kind of videos in the future, please consider subscribing.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.